Welcome to Two Players, One Controller with me, Blinktor.
And me, Hedgehog Baker.
This is our very first episode, and what we're going to do in this episode is we're going to talk about gaming. We're going to talk about healthy gaming habits for you, kids, your spouse, your relationships, so we can all just have a healthy, create healthy relationships with gaming and each other and ourselves. So we're going to kick this off by talking about a game. Every episode we're going to talk about a game, and the game we're going to start with, it's a good game to start things with, Zelda Ocarina of Time.
The game that started it all.
Right. So Hedgehog Baker is going to give a summary, and then I'm going to give a summary. Then we're going to talk about it. So let's just get into it. Go ahead.
All right. Yes, I get to start the summary because I am not quite as knowledgeable about games in general as Blinktor. So let's see how this goes. Ocarina of Time. There's a little boy. He goes off on a grand adventure because he has an identity crisis, which is fair because he's being raised with a race that is not his own. Which could get confusing. So he goes off on an adventure. He meets a princess. She gets bad vibes from this dude who's meeting with her dad. So she sends this little boy off on a grand adventure to gather all these different things that should help defeat this guy in case her intuition is true. But then she decides, you are the only one who can possibly save us, but you're a little too small. Like, you're strong enough, you're wise enough, but you need to be a little bit bigger. So we're going to preserve you so that you can get just big, but be living and exactly the way you are, and then be sent into the future. So you'll be big, you can go off and save us, because at that point, she truly believes her intuition will, be the truth and come to fruition.
He can't do it when he's a little boy. He already defeats Gigantor spiders. And let's see, what else does he do? Well, he just kind of escapes some guards, but it's true. You just can't defeat that guy if he's a little boy. Can't do it.
Well, so logic would argue that she should find someone else.
But he was in her dream, so...
Well, there you go.
There you go.
I mean, I've never dreamt about people I've never met. That's not something that's happened. All
right, so Zelda Ocarina of Time is an action-adventure game developed and published by Nintendo for the Nintendo 64. It was a hit when it came out, still a hit. According to many review sources, still a 10 out of 10, which I don't entirely agree with. Even though it's like the most important game of my life, I don't think it's 10 out of 10. We'll talk about that later. In this game, you're Link and you go around, you slash stuff, you beat bosses, and you beat the bad guy at the end. So we're gonna talk about some fun facts really quick about the game.
Fun facts with the video game boy.
That's right. I'm the video game boy. So my one speedrunning fact, I'm a speedrunner, guys. Right now, as of today, the 29th of whatever month it is, May. In 2022. Right now, the any percent record for Ocarina of Time is currently held by Paint Skate 8 with a 6-minute, 49-second time. Which is pretty amazing. They're
established 7 months ago.
Right. I mean, damn, that's a long time for a hold a record.
Yeah.
But for those who would like to see this game actually played in all of its parts, the All Dungeons record is done in 1 hour, 15 minutes. Another fun fact
by Amaterasu?
Oh, that's right. Sorry, by Amaterasu. I don't know any of these people, but they seem nice. Another fun fact, is a personal fact. I have a tattoo of the medallions on my left forearm. Have it for a good 2 years, and I'm still not tired of it. So I like
Only
that.
Only 2 years?
Yeah, I think so. It's pretty crazy. And then one last fun fact is this game used mocap. I didn't know that this game used motion capture, but I guess to do the animation, they did motion capture, which is kind of crazy.
So what exactly is motion capture? I don't know.
It's where they take like videos from different angles of a dude. At least back in the day, that's how they did it. They would take videos of dudes and then they would like use those references to create their animations and stuff like that. Nowadays, modern motion capture is people wear these like nodes and stuff on their body, and they like track all these, like in 3D space, they track, where their arms and stuff are at. It's like they do in the movies, like when the 3D dudes portray 3D things in movies. Same stuff for games.
In our research of this game, to get some fun facts, we learned that they use motion capture. Specifically, one of the things they used it for was for the chest. They got a mock chest. Yeah. So does that mean that they got like a giant chest and some dude had to like dive
like
into
clamber
it?
in there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Act or like a little kid clamber in there.
Yeah. Well, did they get a child?
Maybe they got a kid. Maybe they enlisted a child.
Do you think they had like auditions?
No, it was probably like some developer's kid. Honestly. I like to think about that. All right, moving on. Fun facts are over with Video Game Boy. Let's talk about our thoughts about the game. Why don't you start?
I love the game. I remember when we were like on our first date, I was over at your house. We were in high school. We were in your basement. And we were just like cuddling, and I got to play the game and have you watch me. And you made fun of me because I was terrible at it. And I remember like growing up watching my brother play it. Yeah. And I always thought it was a really cool game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like my first impression of it was really favorable. I thought it was a really cool game, really well done. I always loved the water temple.
Oh, that's really funny you say that because that's like the community temple that everyone hates.
I mean, I'd never played the game all the way through. I watched it quite a bit, and just from a viewing point,
sure,
the water temple was the most fun.
It was pretty cool. I will say when I was a kid, I liked the water temple a lot just so I could wear the blue tunic, which was my favorite. I spent a lot of time playing Zelda, just rocking the blue tunic. Like, I would start a game as Zelda, and I'd be kind of upset all the way until the point I got the blue tunic as an adult. And then being a kid when I had a 64, where like, that was one of the 5 games I had or whatever on my N64. Sometimes I get bored with playing Smash Bros or whatever else I had. And I'd be like, you know what? I just want to run around as Link, adult Link in my blue tunic, and just go beat stuff up. That's what I wanted to do.
I never understood the adult child.
Well, okay, this game was riding off the heels of Link to the Past, right? Which had like a future past thing, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of wanted to copy the format. I don't know. Link's always been doing the dark world thing. They've been doing it really good.
So the future is the dark world.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's really dark. Like, it's one thing for it to be another dimension type thing.
Yeah.
But for the future to just be dark.
Yeah.
That is the dark world.
It's
That's
because
really
Ganon.
dark.
It's because Ganon is okay. All right. A little girl. Look, being parents, right? I can really connect with this in a different way. Zelda was like, Dad, I have a dream. Dad, I had a dream where bad things happen and your most trusted royal guardian is going to overthrow you. Right. And then the parents like, okay, kid, like whatever. You're just like,
because I don't know, if our 5-year-old came to us and was like, I had a dream. And your friend was like mean.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, that's
planning
interesting.
to murder you or something.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
that's dark.
Oh, dark. Jeez.
That's intense. Okay, let's move on with life.
Yeah. So because the king didn't listen to her daughter.
His daughter,
sorry. Hundreds of people died in the castle, turned to zombies, and Link has to deal with this.
I never really caught on to that as a child, just watching my brother play this game.
I mean, I didn't really either. I was just like, oh no, bad guy. Like, of course I believe Zelda. She knows things. Like,
Yeah,
she's part of the
she is
royal
the
family.
Yes, she is the representation of the Triforce of like wisdom, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Link
of course
is
we
courage.
believe her.
Oh, of course Link does it because he has the courage. He's like, sure, I'll just do it because I got the Triforce of courage. I can do whatever I want.
Also, I just want to play this game, and this is where the game is leading me.
For sure. Well, I was impersonating Link there, but
Oh, I see.
yeah. But I mean, Link is supposed to be a link to the player, right? Androgynous, supposed to be a link between you and the game world. So really, everyone that plays it is the Triforce of Courage. We're like, yeah, I want to do that.
I mean, who wouldn't want to be like the person who this royalty is sending out on this grand quest to save the world?
For sure. Especially as a 6-year-old, I've really connected with that. So let's see. Favorite parts about this game, growing up and as an adult, include just doing the dungeons. Dungeons, I think, are the highlight of the game for sure. Running around the world nowadays, not as exciting. You know, like you would hop on your horse and ride around on Epona. When I was a kid, I was like, oh yeah, I'll do this all day. I look forward to this after kindergarten, whatever. But nowadays, not the most exciting to run around on a horse around Hyrule. It's pretty empty.
Well, yeah, and it's just not fun to watch you play, partially because you want to do the speedrunning tactics.
It's true.
It's
I'm
not
sorry.
fun to watch you just run backwards through this world.
I know. Okay, guys, I'm gonna say something. I'm a speedrunner.
Is that what you're going to
say? I speedrun video
say?
games. Yeah, I'm a speedrunner, and
You're a casual speedrunner.
I'm a casual speedrunner.
You're not going to. You don't have the time
I don't
now
have the
to
time.
sit down and really figure out how to speedrun a game and do it start to finish.
Right.
You just learn different little tactics to get
Right.
through a game faster.
Yeah, pretty much. I don't know, it makes me happy.
It's
I
not.
like
it
doing
doesn't make me happy.
I know,
I don't.
I'm
It's not
sorry.
fun to watch.
I know. I don't play games traditionally anymore. It's honestly hard for me to play a game and not try to sprinkle in a little speedrun stuff. You know, it's hard for me.
That's true.
But selfishly makes me enjoy the game more. But maybe I should be less selfish. Okay, so everyone knows about Ocarina of Time. We can spare ourselves more description. But what this podcast is really about is creating a valuable experience for you and your spouse and your kids. Me and Hedgehog Baker are kiddo havers. We have 3 of them. Oldest is 5 years old.
Yeah, so we don't have a ton of experience.
Right.
We're just kind of going off of our own thoughts here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have been a gamer extraordinaire all my life. I infected Hedgehog Baker with some serious gaming action. Now it's kind of a part of our life. So with each game that we talk about, we want to talk about how this experience is with at least our kids, you know, an experience and maybe some tips and some thoughts about if kids would enjoy this game and if you would enjoy this game with your child /spouse /relationship situation, whatever. So we're gonna talk about really the kiddo things first. So some things to think about if you want to play this game with your child is there's a little bit of spook in the game.
Yeah, I mean, the more that you think about it, as an adult reflecting on the game, the spook level is rather high.
Yeah, and we are having fun smashing this spook meter level into like a 10-point scale. So we're gonna give it like a 6 and
almost even a 7.
Almost a 7. Why don't we say 6.8?
Oh, are we gonna get into decimals?
I know, I don't think so. I think it's easier. We can just hold on to 10 numbers.
Agreed.
Let's give it a 6, but borderline 7. On the spook meter, mostly because, like, you know, when the game opens, oh, delightful, you know, you got a little fairy.
It's bright. There are fairies. But then you, like, are told to go into this tree.
Big old tree with a big old bushy
you go into
mustache.
Its mouth. That's
true.
the entrance.
Yeah, and they make a big deal about it, too. It's not like Schwamp, walking in there. It's like open my mouth.
Yeah, and you say, like, I'm sick and I need you to come inside of me to fight this infection. And there are giant spiders.
Yeah,
like,
huge
as
spiders.
an adult, I have a hard time handling spiders in video games, let alone in real life.
Right.
So, I don't know. For our 5-year-old, she has a hard time getting through that.
Yeah, she definitely was scaring her. It's funny how children experience fear because our oldest kind of bottles it up and doesn't really say anything until we like prompt her. Like, hey, are you scared?
Interesting. She'll tell us that she's scared, but sometimes that's just because she's bored.
Yeah.
And she's using that as an excuse to do something else.
Yeah, she definitely is kind of conniving in that way.
A little bit.
But other times, I mean, she is legitimately scared. And sometimes she'll show it on her face. Sometimes she won't. So you kind of need to,
really
like,
hard
ask.
to gauge.
Yeah.
Because when she was a little smaller, nothing scared her. Remember we watched Lord of the Rings extended version, Fellowship of the Rings.
Yeah.
I covered her face for, like, the orcs.
Yeah, right.
But she didn't want me to.
No,
she wanted to watch that.
Yeah. But now, I mean, there's some things that, I mean, will scare her. I don't know. I still don't have a great definition of what scares her, because sometimes she'll go upstairs and be like, oh, I'm scared. I'm about to have a scary dream or nightmare. But that's just because she's just trying to get out of her room or something like that.
Well, I don't know. I think that a good way to tell when she is genuinely scared is when she doesn't want to be in her room.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be alone in her bed.
Right.
Because she's still just thinking about this thing that she saw. Like even Stardew Valley, that'll be a whole nother episode. But the witch in Stardew Valley, that is not scary.
Yeah.
She just flies over
around
your barn and throws a little curse. And she doesn't even hurt anything. But that genuinely scared her. She was very concerned. It came into her dreams.
Right.
She didn't want to sleep alone.
Yeah.
So Ocarina of Time.
Yeah.
That's not even cutesy. Like, on the cuteness meter.
Which is another meter, by the way.
Which is another meter we have. It's very low.
Yeah, super low cuteness meter, unfortunately. Like, I guess he got Navi. I guess he got a horse. That's pretty cute, but...
No, that doesn't... No. It's not enough.
I think even as a kid, I don't know. Navi has a pretty bad reputation, and
I love Navi.
Yeah.
Navi?
Navi.
It's Navi.
It's Navi, but I've gone all my life saying Navi. To me,
just to make fun of her.
Yeah. I never liked her. Never really considered her cute. Honestly, hilariously, I think the sequel, Majora's Mask, which is arguably horrifically darker than this game.
Oh, man, yeah.
Has more cuter like parts in it, you know? Like there's like some of the masks are kind of cute.
No.
There's like little drop. Well, the ending's cute. Like, you know, at the end, you're all friends and stuff. Whatever. Ocarina of Time, not cute. Another meter that we have, not really a meter, more like a judgment call. A gauge. Is the pass on ability. Maybe
pass on ability.
Where, like, I grew up a lot, you know, playing the game with one controller. Obviously, because I played a lot of single-player games.
Yeah, single-player games.
I grew up with my older brother, 10 years older than me, right? And he was cool enough to pass the controller to, you know, 7-year-old me when he was 17-year-old. And I spent many happy days as a child just passing the controller, you know, between a single-player game. I love doing that. And I definitely want to have our kids do that. I think it's a very valuable way to play a game.
Yeah.
So for Ocarina of Time, the pass on ability is okay. Not that great. Like games like Mario and like Mega Man where like, you know, you fall in a pit, you die. That's like a really natural time to pass the controller. But in Ocarina of Time...
you can do it when you die.
Sure.
But not really.
Nah.
You can do it like dungeon to dungeon.
Sure. But I mean, like,
even then,
a kid's not going to have a kid playing those dungeons for the first time. Like, when you watch me play this game, I'm flying through those dungeons because it's like, what, the 50th time I've gone through that dungeon, right? But when a kid's figuring out, like, I remember it took me like a week to get through the fire temple or something like that.
Exactly. It can take a really long time.
Yeah.
There's just not really a clear-cut point where a sibling can pass the controller on to the other sibling and back and forth.
Exactly. So pass on ability, not so much.
Low.
Or at least it would be harder to enforce. You know, there's no clear-cut barriers. As for the sweet spot age, yet another, the final meter that we have for games going forward. I think so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think the sweet spot age for this game is like 6 to 7 because they can read. That's the thing we forgot to say. Like with our oldest, the story is fairly engaging, right? If you're reading the text boxes and stuff like that. but they're not doing it themselves. You can't just like let them play it.
Like you learned to read playing this game.
Right.
But at least for our child, our oldest, she does not enjoy being forced to read.
Yeah.
She loves books. She loves trying to read.
Yeah.
And I think when she is 6 or 7 and getting really excited about her growing ability to read,
then she'll be into it.
Then she'll be really into it because then you're unlocking the story as you go.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I was just tenacious as a kid to try to pile through it. And my brother was like, no, you're going to read. So there was definitely a difference there. But that is one thing. As for like an experience for someone to watch you play or have your kids watch you play, it's a good one because you're reading an engaging story, right? And they're kind of keeping up with you.
But you have to be reading as you go along.
Yep, absolutely. There's definitely times where I accidentally skip through a text box, and then I'm like, darn, I should have read that because the kiddos don't know what's going on.
But it's your automatic reaction.
Oh, yeah. I definitely press buttons quickly. Do we have any more kiddo thoughts?
Well, yeah. I really want to discuss how we think kiddos can best interact with this game. Yeah. So, like, with watching or playing, I think that they do have to be reading.
Yeah.
That is the best way to be able to interact with the game, is to be able to follow along with the text boxes.
For sure.
That way that you're like unlocking this whole new world as you go.
Yep. And
that's what makes it so intriguing as a game.
Yep, absolutely. And for those who have a little bit older kids who want to play and not just watch, I will say, compared to today's standards for moving a 3D object in 3D space and stuff like that, like this definitely doesn't really hold up anymore, right? Like trying to walk in front of a door and press the A button and open the door, like
it's awkward.
That's a struggle even for adult me.
Yeah, like just going up the vines
going
outside the castle.
Yep.
That's tricky.
I know, I still mess it up.
Especially for young kids, that can be really frustrating.
Very
you already don't exactly know the words.
Yeah.
Like, it's just an extra level of frustration.
Yeah.
That can be really hard to get through.
Don't get me wrong here. I'm all about challenging a child, for sure.
Yes.
But this is kind of like, there's different challenges out there that are less frustrating. Like, I think frustration is important in some ways, but Ocarina of Time.
But like frustration, like when you're going through the garden at the beginning of the game, and you have to avoid the guards.
Sure.
And the guard sees you and you're sent back to the beginning.
Yeah, I think that's fine.
That's great.
Yeah.
But you don't need the added level of frustration of I'm trying to move out of the way.
Yeah.
And it's not letting me.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
I can't figure out how to move the buttons in the exact correct way.
Yep.
To get through this part.
Yeah, right. And I applaud all young children, of any era that got through that. Yeah. Good job, all of you. And I mean, that's also a function is because like we didn't have a ton of options to fall back on. So, as the game I had to play, I wanted to get through it, but a topic for later.
Well, and I think that's part of the issue with kids interacting with the game is that no matter how hard you try to get kiddos to focus on some older games and older shows, things that are a bit slower,
sure,
it's inevitable that they're exposed to the fast-paced, bright,
cheery
games and TV shows.
Yeah, more gratification.
And it really, I think it lowers their tolerance for older, slower games like this.
Yeah.
I think this game is a little sleepy.
It is kind of sleepy. Like, if you're just watching someone go through a dungeon, like, again, if you're engaging with them, like, just not, I think if the oldest was just a little bit older, like, I could maybe ask her, like, oh, where should I go next? Like, in this puzzle, like, of the dungeon.
And she can help you solve the puzzles.
Right. As for watching the fights, like, for me, I don't get super like hype or like, I don't feel any big emotions when I'm getting in a fight. Like, oh no, I'm fighting this guy or anything like that. Because I'm just like desensitized to, first of all, fighting people in Ocarina of Time. Second of all, just fighting enemies, right?
Yeah. Well, but I think that in more modern games, the way that they approach fights, it's different than how they approached it, like in Ocarina of Time.
Right.
And I think with the spook level, all this already being rather high, the fights add to that adrenaline in the moment.
Right.
Like for us, we don't remember being scared by this game.
Yeah, I don't.
Because that's the level that like media was at.
Right.
It was fun. It was interesting. And everything kind of went over our head. Yeah. But the kiddos are kind of used to bright, cheery. Yeah. Don't think about all the scary stuff. Like, there's no spooky skeletons that are going to be chasing you down.
Oh my gosh,
and flying plants are literally chasing you.
Yeah.
And zombies.
Oh, yeah. Big, scary zombos.
It's like zombies with like a dark sky, and the buildings are in ruins, and that's stuff that we didn't quite notice. Yeah. But I think our kiddos do notice that.
Yeah, I think they do. So definitely, I think sweet spot age, you got to be at least like 7.
Yeah.
Because with our oldest being 5, I think that takes away from our experience of it being like too spooky. I think when you're like 7-ish or older,
you can really engage with the story. You can engage with
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that the story is quite interesting enough to engage her at this age.
Right. Couple of things. So we talked about playing it, watching it, listening to the music. I mean, that's a 10 out of 10.
Well,
in my
the
opinion,
kiddos, I love the music.
Yeah.
The kiddos don't like listening to the music anymore. They think it's too sleepy. But I think it, like when our kiddos were babies, we would sing them songs from Zelda as lullabies.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I still get the youngest to sleep by singing Kakariko Village.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Gosh, what was the song that our oldest was born on, even in our playlist?
Yeah, I mean, if this is not telling you how nerdy we are out here, I think when the oldest was born,
Village?
No, it was Hat to Know Village from Breath of the Wild. One. It just happened to be on, during the time. All right, moving on.
But no, like before we move on with the music,
sure.
I think that a really good way to get kiddos to engage with Zelda at a really young age is with the music.
Yeah.
Specifically when you want them to be listening to sleepier music.
For sure.
Personally, I think that the music can be really upbeat.
Yeah.
And if you want to listen to more awake Zelda music, I mean, Wind Waker is the way to go.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But I don't know, our kiddos at least think that Ocarina of Time music is very sleepy.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, that being said, the middle one, I think he's going to be a hard rocker because he spends a lot of time wanting to listen to quote unquote Bowser music. Yeah, he's going to be a hard rocker. All right. Any more thoughts on Ocarina of Time before we move on?
Well, I want to talk a little bit more about how kiddos can best engage with it.
Okay.
So I think with the music.
Yep.
I think watching someone else play the game, as long as you're willing to really gauge if they find it spooky.
Sure.
And really read through each of the text boxes.
You think that's the best way? Them watching is the best way, as opposed to playing?
I think so. Yeah. I think that if you introduce the game for them to play too early, like kind of what we did with our oldest.
Sure.
I think they become very discouraged because of the gameplay.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely gotta build them up.
And I don't think it's very easy for them to become attached to the characters.
No, I mean, I think Link is cool. I always think he looked cool. As for the other characters, there's honestly not a ton of characters in the game. Like, there's
it's Zelda and Link.
Yeah, Zelda, Link. You got Rockman. You got Zora Peeps. Whatever. Mm-hmm. But they don't seem like very. They don't seem like they have their own character, but
they
it's not
do.
exciting.
But there's a weird element of reality in their characters. Like with Mario, you're cute, you're bright, you're jumping around.
Yeah.
With Zelda, there's some
like these people are going through something. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some overhanging doom.
Like their life is bad right now.
A little bit. Yeah.
Life is not great right now. The Zora
They're
people,
trying to cope.
They're definitely trying to cope.
They're trying to cope and get through, and some of them are willing to fight, and some of them aren't.
Yeah.
There's a level of reality there that I think the kiddos kind of keep themselves away from.
Sure. I would agree. I would agree there. But, hey, Link's cool. I dressed up like Link a lot. From like ages 4 to 8, I was dressing up like Link all the time.
I mean, part of that was your mom's ingenuity.
Yeah, that's true.
She would send him up. She would got to just sit and send him off on quests in the yard dressed up as Link, and she could just sit and watch him and relax.
Ingenious.
I wish that the kiddos were into Link so that I could do that.
I know, right?
I think maybe if we had introduced like Link and Zelda plushes a little bit earlier.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. All right. Well, now we're going to go to the second part of this podcast, in which we're going to talk about a general topic. Because this is the first one, we're going to talk about like why we're doing this.
Well, before we do that, should we talk a little bit about Ocarina of Time in terms of spouses?
Oh, sure.
Like, I feel like watching you.
Yeah.
You're experienced with the game. You want to be speedrunning through it. It's not fun. But do you think it would be a valuable evening spent if we cuddled up with some tea and you watched me play the game? I'm inexperienced. I've never played through it. Would that be fun or a little frustrating for you?
I don't think it'd be frustrating for me. I think it would be frustrating for you, right?
Yeah.
Like this game is not. I'm not going to say this game is beginner friendly by any means. It's not.
I'm not a beginner gamer.
No, but I mean, like, it's not like fun to deal with those fiddly parts of Ocarina of Time. You know, like I don't want to put you through that.
So you don't think it's worth playing as an adult at all?
Okay, I will say, if you're out there on a quest, those out there, just trying to play classic old games, which in this day and age is quite easy to get your hands on. You can play Ocarina of Time on the Switch. What do they have? Switch Premiere? I don't know. There's Plan that you can play retro games on. You can play it on there. You can play it on an emulator. You can play it on all kinds of stuff.
We have the original hardware.
Yes, we do have the original hardware. I play it on the cartridge.
On a CRT.
That's right. But for people who have never played it before, I would say it would be, a good, you'd feel, this game is going to feel old to you. Like if anyone has never played this game before, you're going to be like, yeah, this game's old. Maybe it would be fun for you to play through like the beginning part, right, of the game with your significant other, and just kind of, laugh about it, right? And be like, oh, this is when, this is where 3D Zelda really began, whatever.
Like spend an evening playing it, but not necessarily spend like a week or two playing through it.
No, unless you really fall in love with it. Like,
sure.
Everyone's tastes are different. If you're into shooters, if you're into, platform or whatever, like, or if you're into, I guess, Skyrim's kind of inspired by this game.
Is it?
I mean, you walk around a place and you hit dudes with a sword.
I don't know if that qualifies as being inspired by.
Maybe not directly, but
that'd be fun to think of it as inspired by Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, that would be fun.
I definitely think Skyrim is darker than Ocarina of Time, to be fair.
I'm just talking gameplay, though.
Sure.
Gameplay. Yeah. If you like adventure-type games, definitely give it a try. But if you're not into it, give it a shot, and then maybe move on if you're not feeling it. Don't feel too bad about it.
I feel like it could be fun, like, on a drinky night on the weekends.
Sure.
Get a little drinky, cuddle, play Ocarina of Time for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then move on to something else.
Yep. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree. All right. Now we're moving on.
Now you can tell your story.
Okay. So, guys, a pretty big inspiration for me to start this podcast is based on a previous Ocarina of Time experience that I had with my very cool nephew. But this is a while ago. This is when he was like 9 and I was like, I don't know, 15, teenager.
16 maybe?
I don't know. I was living in my parents' basement,
You were 16 or 17. We were dating already.
Oh, cool. Neat. Well, anyway, my very cool nephew came over to visit for a little bit. and we hung out for a while, and I was excited because, you know, he was old enough for me to kind of show him things that I liked. And he had access to an iPad, I think. I think he had access to an iPad or like a DS or something like that. I don't know. Something like that. Something a little bit more modern, if I recall. So he was already like engaging with games, but he was like kind of on the cuff of like, you know, mobile gaming when it first started.
Was he already into Diablo at that time? I think so.
I think he knew about it. Like he knew about like WoW and Diablo and stuff like that. But I think like what he had most ready access to was mobile gaming, I think.
Sure.
So he was readily access to, or he had ready access to just like quick, fast-paced, dopamine, you know, dopamine increasing experiences, where it's just like you get instant gratification, whatever, right? And that's kind of like he was starting life out on that, and you know, whatever. That was an interesting time when mobile games were first coming out. We didn't really know how to handle it, right? So he was playing a lot of that, but you know, he came over to my house when he was like 9, and I was like, all right, now's my chance. I can kind of show him some stuff that I like, you know, these retro games that I've loved all my life. Now I want to kind of pass them on to my nephew. So I sat him down with Ocarina of Time on the Wii, maybe? I think I was playing the Wii Virtual Console. I mean, it was with the GameCube controller.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I might have booted up the GameCube version, honestly. It was either Wii Virtual Console or the GameCube edition where it came packaged with Master Quest. Either way. Sat him down, and I started him from the beginning, you know, from the very beginning. Watches the cutscene. Navi bonks her head on the fence. I'm like, oh, whatever. Wakes up Link. He reads all these text boxes, and honestly, like, not too far in, I can see he's kind of getting lost in the text boxes. Like, okay, let's just get past these text boxes, please. Link, wake up, whatever. Okay, so the game starts, and, you know, like, he's got the controller in his hand, and, you know, like, is standing in front of his bed, and I don't think he touches any buttons, but he's like, he turns to me, he's like, what do I do?
Oh.
I'm like,
press
you got a whole controller in your hand, man, with buttons and sticks on it. Like, press those buttons, do the sticks, you know, figure it out.
I wonder if that's one of the big problems with modern games, that like pressing the buttons isn't necessarily part of the enjoyment like it used to be.
Yeah,
would you say that's fair?
That. Yeah, maybe. Like, I like pressing buttons, but
yeah.
I mean, definitely games today, like, you know, just tutorials and stuff, and they expect you to read the manual, you know, on Ocarina of Time, and enjoy it the whole time you're reading the manual. You better have fun reading that manual.
You know, some people worked really hard on that manual.
Hey, I love the manual. Manual's great. Either way, he was like, I don't know what to do, and I was like, well, you should press some buttons, right? So I tell him, like, yeah, use the stick. You know, you can use the stick, walk around. So he walks around, goes outside. Saria, you know, runs up to him. Hey, hello, talk to me. You know, go down the ladder. Goes down the ladder, talks to her. You know, he reads all the text boxes. Saria's like, yo, the Great Deku Tree wants you. Blah, 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 blah. Right?
And that didn't intrigue him?
Well, shortly after that, he was like, well, now what do I do? And I was like, well, I don't know. Go over there. Go to the Great Deku Tree. See what you can do. And he's like, where's that? I'm like, I don't know, look around, man. Like,
yeah,
press the buttons, look around. So, you know, he fiddles around. Excuse me. You know, go talks to Mido. Mido stops him. And he's like, always stop me. I'm like, well, yeah. You should, like, he said you don't have a shield. He's like, where do I get a shield? Anyway, you know what I'm getting. Like, he didn't have, at least what I thought in my teenager brain, what I interpreted is that, like, he didn't have a drive necessarily to figure this stuff out himself. Like, he was used to the game, just kind of feeding it to him.
No, and this was at that time. Like,
yeah,
he's really cool now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To
he
be
is
fair.
Awesome. Yep, fantastic dude. But yeah, like, that kind of dawned on my teenager brain. Like, oh man, like, gaming is changing in a way that I don't necessarily love. Like,
yeah, problem solving is not quite so prevalent.
Yeah, absolutely. And like,
from what we've seen, there are new games.
Oh, absolutely. I think they've definitely turned that stuff around. But
at that time, at least, that definitely was not a highly sought after feature in gaming.
That's when like Batman Arkham Knight and Arkham City were out, and like, you know, pretty much every angle of the game was like, oh, press the A button right here, you know, whatever.
It's really handholdy.
Very handholdy. Not to say that Ocarina of Time doesn't hold your hand sometimes. But yeah, that basically made my teenager brain think that like gaming is changing, and I want to make sure that my gaming experiences are valuable for me and those around me. Like I want to be selective with my gaming experiences. I don't want to like waste my time on these games, which at the time I was playing like a lot of Minecraft, a ton of Minecraft, and a lot of Dota 2, like when it was old. I was playing a lot of those games. I was just sinking just tons of hours.
Oh yeah.
And after that experience, I started questioning, like, man, like should I be sinking all these hours into this stuff? You know, like I
don't think it was truly until we had our oldest.
Yeah.
That you started really thinking in depth about like, you know, I should not be constantly feeling pulled towards my computer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like as a kid growing up, I mean, that was my primary hobby and still is my primary hobby. But I mean, like I lived and breathed like video games. Like I would go to school functionally to be there and pass. And then I would go home, play video games all day. Yeah. Right. That's what I'd do.
And that's tricky to navigate as a parent now because our kiddos, that's all that they want to do. Our oldest, our 5-year-old, she just wants to play video games. She started crying tonight because we told her she couldn't stay up and play video games.
Yeah.
Because we realized, like, oh, that's not a good habit to form to be playing games right before bed.
Yep, definitely. And I mean, we're learning as parents how to handle this just like any other parent. But like, you know, we're going through with what I would think an extra layer of intentionality because not only do we want gaming to be valuable and important, you know, in our family, but we also want it to be healthy.
Yes. And that is a difficult balance to strike.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, so far, like, I'm really happy with the games that our oldest has been playing. I think she's been doing some valuable stuff, but I mean, we're still learning as well, you know? So that's part of the podcast, you know, we'll be explaining those things that we at least try to figure out.
Yeah, we are just kind of recording our quest to create meaningful and important and healthy experiences with video games as a family.
Yep.
Because video games really can have a part in your life as long as you handle it the correct way.
Absolutely.
Or quote unquote correct.
Quote unquote correct. Yep. And my short anecdote of what we were mentioning earlier of like when it really dawned on me what meaningful time in gaming meant to me was I was playing a bunch of WoW when our oldest was born. And like, and I was speedrunning too. I was speedrunning for the Sonic Adventure, which was really fun. But like,
that was hard for me.
It was hard. Well, it's because I didn't realize like I had spent my whole teenager life, you know, just playing games. And then when we were together and had our oldest, I was like just still doing that. You know, I was like, oh yeah, I'm at my house, I'm going to be on my computer. Like that's what I do.
It's not like I was having more valuable experiences though, just sitting and watching TV. To be fair, I discovered Bake Off during that time and started baking quite a lot.
Oh yeah.
So that was valuable.
Right.
But otherwise, you know, other modern habits aren't necessarily any better than gaming. I think gaming has a lot more value than some other modern habits, you know?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I would argue definitely more than other media.
It really helps. Like with video games, you have to engage with them.
Yeah.
And that can be hard as a parent sometimes. Like I'm tired in the evenings or my kiddos are awake and I want to be available to jump up and go play with them.
Yeah.
Or go help them or whatever.
Sure.
So sometimes I don't want to play a video game. But sometimes I still want you to be playing a game because that's like we've had lots of experiences where we watch you play through a game as a family.
Yeah.
And that's really fun. Like I really value those memories.
Absolutely. And I think one of the most fun times we had so far with that was Dragon Quest 11.
Oh, that's
super
got to
fun.
be a whole nother episode.
That was a great one. Oh yeah, Dragon Quest 11 for sure.
Oof.
And we're excited to talk about, specific subtopics like that in the future. We talk about, games that we think that are really good for that, or experiences you can do with your kids to engage them in XYZ, games and group experiences.
I think it's a real shame that with a lot of gaming parents, I think the perception is that the dad is always going off and gaming.
Yeah.
And that's what it was with us at first. Like we were saying, when our oldest was born,
Yep.
You went off and played video games.
Yep.
And I was just left with the baby.
Yeah, exactly. And then it took a few, harsh realizations for me to realize that was absolutely wrong of me to be doing, and that I should be trying to incorporate my family in my hobby.
Yeah.
And not like always just thinking like, I can't wait to be done with this kid spouse thing, so I can get to playing games tonight,
Yeah.
I definitely, I've transformed that now into, oh boy, like I get to do this with my family,
Yeah.
And we want to talk about that in this podcast.
Yeah. And I just think that it's really valuable for mothers and wives to also be willing to engage with video games. I think video games can be really fun and really cute and a lot more fun than sitting around and watching TV sometimes.
For sure. Yeah. I know a lot of folks out there, couples that, the guy's like, oh man, I play games a lot. I try to get my wife into games, but just she doesn't really like anything. But sometimes
don't give up. There are some games that it's inevitable to find a game that she'll like, right?
Yeah,
there's so many video games out there.
So many, yeah.
That are very easily available.
Absolutely.
Especially if you have the hardware. You help me be able to play on my keyboard sometimes, play at my computer, at the TV, with a controller, whatever.
Right.
As long as you can customize the experience, I think that really helps.
It does really help. Well, to digress from that and kind of cool things off, right?
Sure.
Let's talk about the games that we've been playing this week. This will be a recurring segment, at the end of the podcast. We're going to talk about the games we've been playing this week. We have
Video Game Book Club. I'm sorry, I said I wouldn't.
She sings a lot. I'm sure we'll get that some more. So Hedgehog Baker and I have established a pretty important book club. It's got a huge following, 2 people.
That's
me
huge.
And Hedgehog Baker. And it's the Pokemon book club. We have never played through all the Pokemons, honestly.
I've never finished a Pokemon. I've always loved Pokemon, but I always give up when my starter Pokemon is level 30.
Yeah,
that's the highest I've gotten.
I've only played and finished one, and that was Sapphire. And that was 2 years ago or something. I spent all my life as a super duper video game boy, but I haven't finished or I haven't played the bulk of these Pokemon games. So being half collectors and purists that we are.
Indeed.
We got purists. 2 Game Boy Colors, and we got a copy of red, copy of blue.
I'm playing red.
Yep, I'm playing blue. My starter was Charmander? Yeah, Charmander.
And what was his name?
Oh, I named him Puddle.
Oh, his name was Puddle. That's Puddle. Right, because I started with Squirtle and named him Flare.
Flare, yeah. Yeah, so we've been playing that, and then other than that,
we are in Lavender Town right now.
Oh, yeah, it's very spooky. That's high on the spook meter, that's for sure.
I haven't met any ghost-type Pokemon yet.
Really? Oh.
I would say that it's way lower on the spook meter than Ocarina of Time.
Oh, sure. Yeah. But they talk about dead Pokemon, though. You spend all this time...
Well, they talk about dead Pokemon the way that people might talk about dead pets.
Oh, yeah.
And it's it's kind of sweet in a way.
Yeah, that's true.
These Pokemon were important to them and they passed on and they're grieving.
Yeah.
It's not like... the world is ending. The sky is black. There are white zombies chasing after me.
Yeah.
In this town that I saw as a child.
Sure.
That was bright and happy and played happy music and everyone danced.
That's pretty funny. Anyway, that's what we've been playing this week.
Kitties are playing.
Oh, so cute.
They stopped because we caught them.
Uh-oh. Well, I think that's going to cap off this first episode of Two Players, One Controller. I was Blinkdoor.
And I am Hedgehog Baker.
We'll catch you later in the future.